Thank you, and thank you all for coming. You know how we were going to all feel today in the wake of the election. Tracy Morris and I read together at Barnard the day after Bush II was elected for the second time. And that was such a depressing day, so stunning, and yet somehow one looks back on it. But I mean, we're all just in such a great depression. And you know, there is something fundamentally depressing about what happened in the election, that such a large segment of this country embraces misogyny, homophobia, authoritarianism, militarism, ultranationalism, extreme right-wing thought. And I think a lot of us feel like we're in Berlin in the 1930s, maybe 1932. And if you feel that way, it's a good analogy. And we've got to keep up the struggle against fascism in the United States. And it's so depressing that people in rural areas feel that that is their course. White men feel that this is their course. But our coming together for art, for poetry, is necessary. Not just the political action, but what precedes and follows it. And I'm so happy to see you all here and to have my great friends reading with me tonight. McNally Jackson books, I've always felt about bookstores that they're as important as poets, they're as important as poetry presses. This is one of the few bookstores in the New York City area you can find poetry books. I mean, I know there are other genres here, but I'm just going to focus on that. And it's so important that we support these bookstores. And you all know the devastating news that the Bloomberg destruction of Manhattan was about to affect McNally with the rapacious increase in their rent. But the good news is that they're going to move, and they're going to move close by, and they're going to be bigger. So we're not losing this one, but we've lost virtually all the other bookstores in Manhattan, so this one we can't afford to lose. Tracy Morris and I never had a book launch for the best American experimental poetry. Came out about a year and a half ago, so this is the closest thing we're going to have to it, and we have a couple of copies, and the folks here at McNally Jackson asked me to bring some old and out-of-print books, so if you take a look at some of these books here, you won't otherwise see. So I thought I'd bring them tonight so that you can take a look, along with the new book, Near Miss, and also Amy Silman's book, and also the two books of my son, Felix. My son and I and Susan are mourning the death of my mother about 10 days ago. She lived to 89. No, excuse me, 89. Why do I say that?
I know your grandmother looked younger than she was.
97. Why do I say that?
89, that's a big
dyslexia. But
At this
to
point, we
age
can
of
tell her true
97,
age.
but I just wonder what it means. 97, the same age as Rose, who died in the synagogue in Pittsburgh, was murdered on the same day as my mother died peacefully in the bed that she lived in for almost 70 years. So we think about Rose and the other people who died, and the people who died in churches and on the street and many other places in the United States and elsewhere, in the caravan of refugees, like my grandparents who came to this country and found a sanctuary. I'm with them. So I'll read a few poems at the end. It was one of the great experiences of my life to collaborate with Amy Silman, and we did just an enormous number of, we invented a new term. Amy wrote me one day and said, well, what do you call when you do a painting in response to, or a drawing, or an animated drawing, or a visual image in response to a poem? And I said, well, I mean, unfortunately, the term for that would be illustration. It's not so fancy as ekphrastic, which always sounds to me like a skin disease. Ekphrasis. But, so we came up with a new word, iconophrastic. So we went back and forth for a long time every day with many images back and forth, and the kind of great realization of that was Pinky's Row, which is an 8-minute animated drawing that Amy Silman did with with my text, and she read my text, my poem, Pinky's Rule, and it's a beautiful work. You can easily find it online, but it was just so great to see this animated drawing. We're not going to show you the animated drawing tonight. We're just going to have Amy read that poem. So here she is.
Thanks for coming. Guess you can read if you're drunk. Hi, Felix.
Hi.
Okay.
Hi.
Actually, just to say, we did the piece on a telephone, and I actually think that's really important that the interface was an iPhone. I mean, iPhone is bad, but iPhone is maybe good in some ways. So when you hear this, just think about the fact that it's not really a poem that I don't know what a poem is, but like it's not a thing that somebody wrote. It's a thing that somebody wrote to somebody else, who then drew a picture of everything that was in it. Oh, hi, and then sent it back, and then when they sent it back, it changed, and then that person changed that thing, and then the person sent it to the other person, and that other person made a new drawing. So it's basically doesn't exist, but this is the residue of what numerous changes, and you have to close your eyes and pretend that you see every image in it as being drawn with a finger on an iPhone. So, I mean, this doesn't really work, but here you go. Pinky's Rule. Can you hear me? It always starts fast, then begins unwinding. A relatively straight shot right to the moon in freeze frame, as if you're almost at the point of being nearly ready. Abrupt shift as in, I'll catch you next time. Wipe that stare off your filmy inconsequence. Give me a rain dance, a walk around the projected parking structure, my indubitable loquacity. The ice machine next to the ice truck, Sunday morning chill. Mellow the way a lemon calls out your name in the dark, only it's saying Alice and your name is John. Or then it's saying Paolo, but you hear it as hollow. Instrumental, that is, only in the name I find when the shooting's over and the bed linen's on the line. It comes to this, or it came to that, or I should have listened harder, or I heard too much. Just don't bet the ranch on the chance your horse will come in second. There is no place like a blue pipe on a blunt background. That would be a pony of a different stripe. Heaven doesn't ask and won't tell. Here on the ground, you have to make a lot of guesses, but even the most astute hunch don't change the course of all you've tried to push against. The fuel's not so much finite as tainted. Perception bows to the low person on totem's pole, or forms a filter against chance encounters, meteoric ineptitude, undeniable resemblances. You don't got to be Plato to see the shadows on the wall. Going where you think you go, coming from wherever you thought you'd come from. I go in fear of fear, but on the flip side of the coin, early risers cut short the night. Illusion is always 9/10 collusion and half wistful thinking. Take another look. There's no more collateral damage to that thought than to the beach when the wave breaks over it. The picture can say only what the words tell it not to, as in, the Pope is in the silo, while the poetry boy redoubles his and her effortlessness. It's a running dope, or more kind to say, inept propositional. Where did you say you put the pliers? She's only this far from destiny. But they only sell one-way tickets. The warp of the weft is beset by fits, and then it comes to pass that the oblong is covered in shadow, as long as you both shall spill. Pinky's Rule, this is what she told me. For every two there's a third, for every one a Z. The road knows, but not to tell nor what. The road knows, but not to tell nor who might see. She bade me swear, and I went home with scarce a care. The road limned with light in feckless flight. Don't go there. In every three's a pattern, finds its form in bars of crimson melody. It hears, and what it hears it sees in crimson bars of malady. Third becomes one as seconds Z. I become three as one returns to me. The road gels where patterns tell, breaking into lines that spell, don't speak but swell, an alphabet tinged with regret. As one becomes Z, none hides the three. This much has she told to me. We stand erect, but for a price. I never know my left from right. I'll change it even so, if you will only let me know. I'm on my knees this time. Fortune's pissed right in my eye, and tapped his hand on the other band, left me low and dry. That's a place right close to no, just on the other side. A circle around an A, with nary a time for a Z, as long as you both shall spill, as green glides only to your will, as sure as frowns a frown, or an N or an R of a P. This is what she told me, for the price of O, with the head of a frog, a sliced up Q with a dress made of pipes. Meet the man almost made it, the girl the man became, the woman and the boy, the fiddler in the storm. If Pinky's rule, you'd best remove your right foot from my left. Once we danced with aunts and our uncles before we rushed to Ghent for truffles. Sissy's rule. Aces are spare, sashes are violent, purses uncertain. Pursue your sudden passion, but never without 2 shakes of fashion. As X makes 3 or 7 when the shoots shoot. Quisling's rule. What's on second? Who's the one that heard? You go up and then go tumbling down into the segment that was just the frown that blanks you out in a blink of a sound. There's no point beating round the bent, no point beating trees into well-groomed hens, or a bush into a bee. The sparrow sings it differently. Sings of orange and green and all the colors in between. White's blue reply, red's recalcitrant lover, aquamarine in tin, torn covers. But colors are too bright, you know. You might as well paint shadows against snow, since sometimes shadows is all you can see, and that includes me. The picture can tell only what the words hide, and the words are hiding for their lives in a witness protection program on 3 Pony Drive. Paint flies when you're having steak with fries, a steak in what you care to recognize. Care's the lost cause of our descent, the gulls that guide us with their shrieks, no more lament, no more lament. Lullabies hum the tunes we thought up at lunch, the pie in the heavens or the pickle on a paddy wagon. Even the littlest fingers know better than that. Pinky's rule, win some and lose some, thick gray marks as if of chalk. Thanks.
Amy said because we had a drink before, could you read poetry? If you were drunk, you just had a glass of wine.
Yeah.
And my response was,
What
how
a
could you
beautiful
do it?
question.
How could you do it otherwise? How could you do it? No more lament. No more lament. Felix.
Oh, are you starting to say read a poem?
Yeah, that's your intro, buddy.
I'm not drunk, so they'll be more sober. Don't tell me about the tide. I've been there and back, my friend. Of time, I can tell you nothing that is not already written in sand, scarcely noticeable just before the water engulfs it, without even a trace of any inscription remaining. Man is no better, crumbling in currents of perilous recrimination, where humanoids dwell in close proximity to beasts. Who doesn't adore them? It is the story of the birth of the mother, only now I am too paranoid not to say it in another's words, or to try again, one more time without feeling. Motion alone encumbers her meaning. Intaglio. Fast, it moves in like swift flowing tide, or your love, when you turn my way. Apoplexy, and then the German version of that. I'm reading the English. I don't know what the deal is with this stuff, but it's in English and German. I'm reading the English. I don't know if this was also back and forth with a German person, probably, right? Yes, okay, so I'm reading the English. Okay. You. Time wounds all heals, spills through, with echoes neither idea nor lair can jam. The door of your unfolding starts like intervening vacuum. Lush refer to accidents or chance of lachrymose fixation made mercurial as the torse in crevice lock dried up like river made the rhymes to know what ocean were unkempt of hides detain the wean of hives felicity depend. As rivers would be dry as rhymes. Time bleeds all wounds. Flushed echoes still not real. Irony awakens. Unfolding the door, a gap drives a vacuum in between. Often a hint of helplessness, fixed, wet, erratically, just ravening sets new concentrations. That's, concentrations is in parentheses, so that's why I did it like that. As rivers would be dry as rhymes. Like to know which lake is wild depends rather on the version of what verse would be. Where quivers such verse as sky. Each fissure fleeces time, shooing like spurious echoes. Joke of the matter wades, this door unfolds, a gap, a void in limbo, which craters helplessness, dilated to song, or just greedy for fresh collation. Wound ration where silver slips don't ply. As wood who rips arrive, well clarified, should think that now once wanted wails. Where tremors play at sky. Still scurrying after, or is it aloft? Spurious tones. Fake echoes are better than no echoes, don't they say? As if my trick leg was joking with me. I mean, all that kicking had to stop one way or another. The jaw drops. Is that the first sign of a gape? A limitless sense of limits, as on a roll you fail to fail, and in those moments awkwardness trails being, or is put off for just the time it takes to wake to it. Where there's no silver lining dwells the ship of incontinent distance and reified indelicacy, such that I dance around my doubts as they clarify themselves in the nonce. Hindrance of splattering tumult. No hush falls sullen as the hush of scorn, eking out baser odors, silencing chaos, all sterile that mauls the still mime of a gap. Woe echoing, bedecked gazelles sprung from knots like the mine shaft of a love stroke, peering, whacked, swished, lick, whisked mine sin, essentially ramped to rain on a collared trick mired in stealth. Where there is no silver lining, there is a curving ship, leaking continents and objectified negligence, dribbling between my musings, jaw dropped. On a clear day, this is the title, it's a long one, so. On a clear day, you can see the air as a transparent mist that separates us from all we love and everything we care about, and still a smooth, fine luminescence overwhelms me with an atmosphere of almost well-being. There were tricks in between that smelled just like teen fever. Pillars humping death, or maybe that's just the way it looked from up here. Dispersion, anyway, is a safer bet than consolidation, which will only take you so far before fouls cloud your judgment and fear fingers the gaps in its place. Such a hierarchy of holes am I, jumping the chain link fence of my own heartlessness. We love intellectual property so long as it doesn't cost us anything. Mind fogged, what's new? A mirror of the pantomime I gave you for Christmas, like the these or an ands, or the ands in the, and then the just quits after you left it out in the passing storm. A bright, clear morning softens the wrath of God. Dazed by trick's touch, playing, spanking against spoke Natch, a goner, fets on bewildered grub, ogling wise but worked the wee all the same, here as well as she. You betcha, he's done. A slicker one's toast to the big spiel you made of it. Ultra critical, a kind of verbatim ukulele angst. Static except for your lucky spot. Geez, rage into your beer, bitch. It was spring and there I lain. Ragamuffin in reverse, dominant. You betcha, singing that folk business, usury, touching grief, belting bennies in an envelope of annoyance. I'm pantomime with a handspring, felt festering with dye. Dye is the order of the one and the odor of the order. Them dies in the eyes, damn them. Them grates the bloom. Mordant glare the gash in a gutless swan. Never pretend otherwise. It's a trick, got it? The mask of unbecoming has become ever so cunning. Please, bite your tongue if you want to spook the language or curtsy when your bladder is filled with blood. Fuck, don't even know how it got there, does you? I'm bursting with vitriol from wisdom or wilding. I'm uncertain which, not to fuss but sure. Thanks a mill for the vinyl blouse. A fluke for a waist is wasted on a boy like you, if you don't mind the exasperation. I got so many goddamn gripes. My gut's stuffed with gimlets from last night's gin run. Where does it say that? Sometimes I think you can almost understand, but I'm a schlump. That's a German word, isn't it? A fortune, plied for life to days that tagged me with lies I never quite got right. Folded in half like a neat napkin after supper. That's bittersweet, like the way she's killing me softly with her unkindliness and how I wouldn't be able to live without it. Umpteen strikes streak like comets off the rim of my glass of Beaujolais. The way you lay, wet and unseen, a strain of folk music after the folks are gone. But that's enough about me. I thought the talk was to be poetry. A poem's a wizened shaft of yellowed disconsolence that pricks like sin, making runic tattoos on the mind skin. With pocked fangs and sashes to die for, we're on a roll, but not for gold. It's that old swamp song, you never believed it. No matter how often I failed to tell you, make mine a double one more time, then call it a night. One more. That was a lot of poems in one poem, but okay. Klong. Is that German for clang? I don't know what that. Okay. Oh, noise, okay. The sirens, the estuaries ending below the receding light, under the streets of foreboding scent. The woods were haunted in the interior, the chirping of birds was like a screech on a blackboard, and then the tolling of death before the race began. Zebras, orangutans, cormorants, ravens, all on display, ghosts defecating in the mind, raw thoughts handled with cashmere gloves. You pulled back and turned your face, shuddering, blame evaporated in the eyes of the watchers, drafted in deft bouquets fashioned as undershirts, each clot dissolved. On rare occasions, the child said to his child, "Tell me without words so I can awaken." But ignorance was also a form of awakening. No things are the same. The trees along the boulevard are each alien to the other, and every stone is foreign once its hardness settles. Man cons all between gulps of lassitude when harrowing won't give. Crosshairs. Ironical, lashed, muslin, hovering, sweaty, sealed, corpse, actor, adrift. Beginning with dung and redone. The tempo discs garbled by Prozac is with sin, Gomorrah and Hawthorne. Begrieved brickwriter. Hicker isser the Dufrende, Aaron Wanarsch, Hickif, Schriedink, Woody, Nickblidge, Eitig, Krabbekunden, Fleischig, Frischke, Inschke, Chenishke, Mikeshk, Rimanjish, Pure Singapore, the fragranted kin. Where is the not dimsware? Knock. Hick is the niche in this world. Hick is the wall. Here in the little giblets. I get giblets twice tonight. A kind of kitchen, kind of hotels, kind of squeeze, kind of sauce. Given Nestre strives to be Hugo von Hofmannsthal, kind of Vienna, Berlin, Peter the Great, Nordic wine tasting, that kind of thing. Here becomes a blooming clang. The stay is nothing, the kin is nothing. Ding, over the world, over America. A widget found in bed with a Dummkopf. Kansas City, St. Paul, Yellowknife, buzzsaws with iron pallets, Jimmy cracks and I could care less. Act 1, Shh, not, quicksand, quiche, kettle, caps lock, Miami, ugh, thorn, schlemiel, wham, irk, wretch, whirl, barf, purr, sauce, bomb, maul, blah, creche, roar, ache, shineware, ouch, burr, cliff, boo, amp, sewer, rat, rube, cons of speech by Walt Disney, the Knicks, off, oi, zap, knish, Donald Duck. Had enough? What kind of a duck? Austria, Brooklyn, hen coop, free range, autopoiesis. Stop it! You know the score. I've been agglutinated. The whole identity spiel. Deschooling, no fooling. But remember to put your thinking cap on. And also to take it off when it gets too hot or when you need to hide. The kind that's kind. A kind and kind for the love of Mike, for Pete's sake. I just want to get the jump back in my jump. Now tell me again with different words.
Tracy Morris.
Charles, hey everybody. Congratulations on the new book. What is it, 150? Number book. Wow, the body, y'all. Bigger and better. So. I'm reading 2 poems. One is sarcastic. Ballad laid bare by its devices even, a bachelor machine for MLA. And the little note says, maybe I shouldn't say it's sarcastic. I'm going to read it for sarcasm. Dark sarcasm. First presented at Boundary Conditions of the Ballad at the MLA Annual Convention, Philadelphia, January 6, 2017. Boundary Conditions was the theme of the convention. Something about sound, repeating in degree of voice, not mind singing as a we. You call it border conditions, but don't put your shame on me. There's more to ballads than weave and dodge and stall. Some folks say it's a cokehead's ball, some say it's a cure at all. We've heard it from a nut brown maid, and from a fellow who gave day takes a blues from Ghent to aches. Some say a ballad's a slow romantic croon, others a vulgar moralizing folk tune, neither epic nor lyric. A singable narrative, atmospheric, riddled with discontinuity, usually ending in catastrophe. Sorry, Charles, improvising your phone. Bullets have been dancing farther back than we can see. The Greeks first cast ballads around 423 BC. English ballads been around since the 13th century. Formulaic rhymes alleges its degree. Fluid dynamics, if you want a goddamn creed. You call it border conditions. Don't put no frame on me. Fuck your lyric framing, fuck your depth of feel. If you're not willing to sing along, you're messing with the deal. Is this just an excuse for doggerel, resurrecting along outdated mode? Solidarity is a lonely road that begins at the inaugural, don't call it border conditions when you put your pain on me. A little bit south of here in Washington. Next week's gonna get a whiff of Armageddon. Billionaire racists taking over 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, not to mention Pentagon 2. Wait and see, he's going to make the earth his own private barbecue. Winner of an unpopular vote, FBI's man armed and dangerous with his clan, got the nuclear codes in his hand. No kidding, this ballad cannot fix or change the course of our collective pain, even making the lyrics strange. No guarantee of liberty. But closer than Washington is Camden, New Jersey, home of Walt Whitman. Moldering in his grave, you bet, lilacs wasn't on the dooryard of these benighted states. We raised ourselves on the left only to get socked on the right. It's not rocket mechanics what we've got to do is fight. I used to have a border till I kicked the border out. It came down to Philadelphia on an Amtrak train when I finished with this job going straight back to Brook O'Lane. 2016 ballot was stolen with mirrors and smoke, a con man's joke, mediocrity, virally swollen. Watch as castles made of sand become the law of the land. We all know about voter suppression, twittering lies, and endless succession. The ballot's in danger, that's the dope. But say, did you even vote? Well, y'all did. What's to be done? What's to be undone? The ying's not in the yang, the pang has lost its ping. Turns out the ballad's no place for a self-respecting poet like me. Trigger warning. At this MLA convention, a crisis of greatest dimension is our jobs going down the tubes like we're just a bunch of rubes. We old-time, full-time is getting replaced with terrific young scholars. Doing the same work for half the dollars, teaching students crippled by loans to pay, turn them into big banks' prey. Regardless of our attitudes of Palestinian or Jew, enrollments are diving like flies into glue, while MLA fiddles like Nero in a stew, and our Putin-elect laughs in his high-rise suit. So, hey, if you are concerned about freedom, what about Syria, Turkey, Russia ad nauseum, or America putting black men of college age under arrest locked in a cage? Sound like some babes. That was my line. The danger that we face is not capitalism versus race, but race is capitalism's sword to vanquish our fight for all. These days I keep thinking we want to boycott ourselves. You call it border conditions, but when he stiffed us on the rent, we booted the border out. No, neo-illiberalism's on the rise, provoking all to despise, scorn, resist, and chastise. But a word to the wise, illiberality comes in every size. Books. Free speech may be a barrel of bare-knuckled lies mixed with a soupçon of truth bound to rot, but policing what can be taught will never liberate thoughts. To offend or not is not the question. To offend or not is not the question. Neither is transgression, repression, or discretion. No, never underestimate the value of digression. These days I keep thinking we don't boycott ourselves. This isn't a poem about politics, about which I don't have a clue. It's a poem about a form that sputters, cranks, and is mortally torn. Between here and there's a border. I almost found it yesterday. One day I hope to cross it if history won't get in my way. Don't get in my way. Don't get in my way. Don't get in my way. Is there more to a ballad and rhythm and rhyme, a riff of a story told with a trick of time? If there's more to it than that, my friends, I sure as hell can't say. You call it border conditions, but I'm not in the mood to stay. There is no freedom without constraint, no border that's not a wall. Good fences sell for $99.99, even cheaper on Amazon. There once was a little ballad that didn't know its name, didn't know its pedigree, didn't know its taint. This is my time to make a commercial. This is at the MLA conference talking about ballads. I'm just adding a little commercial. This is what the Queens would say reading for filth. This ballad got mixed up in a robbery, and though it wasn't in the plans, ended up with blood on its metaphorical hands. The verdict came down swift as a slap. 100 years for stupefaction. 150 more for personification. But with parole, it will only be a matter of time before we see Long and Paul and all that rigmarole back on the streets purveying an aesthetic trap. There is no moral to this ballad. But hey, don't forget, our jobs are going down the tubes at breakneck pace. We old-timers getting replaced with super young scholars doing the same work for half the dollars, teaching students with loans to pay, turn them into big banks' prey. Graduate students, unionize. Don't let yourself be patronized. Let's turn over half of bloated university presidents' wages to tenure-track jobs to counter adjunct raises. Call it border conditions if you like, or call it a struggle for a better life. Dylan got one of those Nobel Prizes. Unsung poets put on more disguises. Nobels to superstars and pamphleteers, not for pernicious balladeers. If songwriters are poets, poets write songs. A Grammy for Baraka would have righted many wrongs. For next year's Nobel, we expect to see, having shown class strife as metonymy, Jean-Luc Godard tapped for economy. Rolling Stones for biology. As for Leonard Cohen, he's nearly home. As for the Peace Prize, which Norway grants, how about Lillehammer's Steve Van Zandt? A ballad says, this is what we want. A bullet does that too. A ballad's just lousy fantasy going out from an us to a use. A ballad's not a bullet. A ballet's not a bullet. A ballot's no balloon. But when you add up all we've lost, you'll soon be singing this rune. I had been to the wild wood, my bed soon. I'm wearied with hunting, and fain would lie down. Oh yes, I am poisoned, my bed soon. I'm sick at the heart, and fain would lie down. You call it the border conditions, but don't put your frame on me. I came down to Philadelphia on an Amtrak train. When I finished with this job, going right back to Brook Lane. Our job's going down the tubes like we're a bunch of rubes. Full times are being replaced with terrific scholars doing the same work for half the dollars. Teaching students with loans to pay, turning them to big banks' prey. Call it border conditions if you like. Call it a struggle for a better life. Second poem. Our United Fates. Oh, you gonna read this one?
Oh, I'm happy it's good.
Our United Fates. From one, many. Do you know that this is where that last poet's poem started? Do you remember that last poet's poem about the pluribus unum? So now I just thought it. Our United Fates. From one, many, many one, facts on the ground, head in the clouds, more perfect, less perfect, imperfect, just perfect. Less than we thought, more to become. No man's land, that is our land. Sojourners on way to where we cannot say. Don't forget that caviar is just fish eggs in a jar. Middle passage casts veils of sorrow on each and every morrow. So too ghostly sound of languages spoken when Mayflower hit Provincetown. A people on a journey in delight and fright, infinite gain for what we've done, finite pain for what we must undo. All of us from somewhere else except the ones here first. Making up a glorious stew by putting every language in the brew. Accent precedes standard. Old defies norm. No one to define us before we define ourselves. Don't forget that caviar is just fish eggs in a jar. Which is worse, global warming or global warming? Credit default slops or stop and frisk? Surveillance states or voters suppressed? Children in poverty or gerrymandering? Is the American dream beacon of opportunity or piss on outhouse floor? Either way, one thing's for sure, income inequality guarantees disunity, the 1% scam du jour. It's not God, but men wants to take away women's right to choose, until all we got left is the right to sing the blues. This is a land of milk and honey, leavened by guilt and loads of baloney. Honey so sweet if you have it, but watch out if it turns to acid. Sanctuary state for generations on generation, prison sentence for those denied reparation. Terror to the right of us, terror to the left of us, greatest terror is turning against ourselves. The glue of these disunited states, not who we were, but who become. The last shall be first, they say. Those most recently arrived, our best chance as a nation to thrive. No man's land, which is our land. From one many, many one, in unum pluribus, e pluribus unum. Facts on ground, more perfect, less perfect, imperfect, just perfect, sojourners on way to where we cannot say. Don't forget the caviar is just fish eggs in a jar. Less than forfeit, ghostly clown, undoing the dun's detour, crackling spark traps on ground only to start again. E pluribus unum, in unum pluribus, in pluribus unum. From many, a one. Within one, plenty. From one, a many. Honey so sweet. If you have it, holy terror, turning against ourselves. The future is perilous for a nation of, by, and for us. Our manifest destinies are near to turn away now in fear treachery severe. The glue of these disunited states, not who we are, but who we'll be, making glorious brew with every language in the stew. America is a second language. Whose second sight's hindsight, the commons is our difference. Our difference is the promise. From one many, many one. Raps on ground, people on a journey. Where, we cannot say. Sojourners on our way.